We're going to start with ACH Pull. So this API call here is a GET method on the funds transfer methods endpoint. This is going to pull in any created funds transfer methods. We haven't created one yet, so I'm going to show you how to use Plaid to do that now. The Plaid SDK allows your customer to go through a very familiar flow to link their external bank account. You can see here in the console that I requested a link token from Plaid directly. That's going to be used to launch the interface for your customer to log into their bank. This is connected to Plaid's demo environment. Should be familiar for anyone who's used Plaid before. Connected to Plaid's sandbox, we're going to use user good, pass good. The user and password are actually shown in this bottom bar when you're in sandbox mode. Going to choose a bank account. This is configured in the Plaid dashboard to show all the available bank accounts. And success. We have linked a bank account. So here in the console, you see the various messages that come across, and we've created this funds transfer method. This is the ID that will be required to actually use this to create a contribution. Now, if we go back to Postman and I request funds transfer method, you'll see the funds transfer method that we just created here with the same ID. This has got my contact's name, contact email, a fingerprint that identifies this funds transfer method. It's labeled as an ACH funds transfer method, and it has some identifying information for the bank account. Now, to use this to make a contribution, we're going to use a post request to /v2 contributions. And again, I'm using the include parameter to include the funds transfer because I'll need the ID of the funds transfer to settle this in the sandbox. In production, funds transfers will settle automatically and you'll get a webhook notification. One thing to notice here, we are specifying the account and the contact. Accounts can contain more than one contact, so you need to identify both when you're creating a contribution. And we're including the funds transfer method for the funds transfer method that we just created using Plaid. Here the amount is $90. By default, the Plaid sandbox has a checking account with $100 and a savings account with $200. And also by default, the Prime Trust policy settings allow you to pull up to 90% of available funds. Balances are checked using Plaid before an ACH pull is initiated. So in the sandbox, you'll only ever be able to pull $90 from the Plaid checking account. When you create a contribution, you'll also see various details on that contribution returned in the response. Importantly, you'll see the status is pending. You'll see this in production as well until the funds arrive. ACH pull typically takes 1 to 3 days, depending on the timing of the pull and the bank that's originating from. If we go to the sandbox now and view the cache in the external transfers, we'll see from Wells Fargo Plaid, this is the ACH pull funds transfer method that I created previously. we have a pending $90 deposit. In the sandbox, there are special sandbox-only methods that will let us settle this funds transfer method. We do a post to /v2 funds transfers with the funds transfer ID that was captured in the response to creating the contribution, and the special sandbox/settle method. Now we can see we have a settled at time, and we have settlement details settled via Sandbox API. If we go back to the Sandbox itself, or the UI for the Sandbox, and refresh this page, so we see here the ACH Pull is showing as pending review, even though it shows here that it's settled via the Sandbox API. The pending review is a contingent hold. So just like in production, in Sandbox, there's a contingent hold on this ACH Pull. In production, the default is 10 days for the length of this contingent hold before those funds are available for use. We'll go into more detail in some of the documentation or another video, or you can feel free to reach out to your sales engineer to explain exactly how ACH works. There's a lot of complications on ACH transfers for fraud prevention. So in the Sandbox, what you can do is you can find the contingent holds using a GET request to /v2 contingent holds. In this case, we're filtering by the account ID and status pending. And we're also sorting to get the most recent contingent hold. So this is the contingent hold that is on our ACH hold right now. And there is a Sandbox method. You can see here the status is pending. There's a Sandbox method to clear this contingent hold, which is a post request to /v2 contingent holds using the ID of that contingent hold that we just viewed using the GET request and the Sandbox/clear path. There's no body on this request, even though it's a post request. So now you see the status shows up as cleared for this contingent hold. If we go back to the Sandbox and refresh the page, now we see the $90 deposit is available.